Fantastic. Okay, so I'll start by introducing myself and just a quick overview of what I am going to talk about. And this ties in really nicely, actually, and I think it's going to have a lot of ties to Julia as well. So my name is Bassanti, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Neuroveda by Pathak Yoga. I'll speak a little bit about who we are, what we do, but I want to focus on these three different things. One is the breath. The second one is moving and holding of postures, being body aware. And the next thing is meditation. And I have said yoga and meditation's effect on the brain. Actually, yoga is everything that I'll be speaking about. It's often reduced to just the physical aspect, just the postures, just the movements. But actually, yoga is much, much more than that. And I know we've got someone in the audience who knows all of that probably. So let me start by explaining what we do. For the past 10 years, we were actually Pathak Yoga, making employees healthier and employers happier. My sister and I started the company because we were really interested in doing something that was new. So bringing yoga to a space where it wasn't known yet, to the corporate world, where there were maybe a lot of misconceptions about what yoga were. And I always call it the skinny white girl thing that we don't do. And it's fine if you're skinny and white and you want to get flexible and toned, and you will get the benefits from yoga. But there is a lot more. And I always say it's like having an alphabet and only stopping at A or doing A, B, and C, but you won't be able to communicate properly until you know the whole alphabet. So we have recently rebranded in the summer because I felt like I was going against so many of these common misconceptions around what people think yoga is versus what we actually do. So I'm now calling the company Neuroveda by Pathak Yoga. Neuro as in neuroscience, but also a lot of other science, epigenetics, quantum physics, and all of what we do is really informed by all of that latest scientific research. So that's why the neuro comes in, and the Veda is the ancient science, so the yogic science. And that comes from the word Vedas, which essentially means science and study. So now we're focusing more on optimizing the workforce and bottom line, improving staff mental health and well-being. However, it's exactly the same as we did before. We're just giving people the incentive, because for employers, it's better to know we're optimizing the workforce and bottom line. And on the left, you'll see all of the things that we are improving with certain programs that we offer, but also with a lot of the services that we still offer. So when we first started off, it was about chair yoga. It was about making sure your posture was right. It was about telling people how to breathe properly down here rather than up here, which actually stresses you. Now we actually look at teams and they might say to us, well, I heard you do chair yoga. I think my team needs that. And in the course of us speaking to the managers, to the leaders, to the different individuals in the team, we may find out that actually, yes, they may be off a lot because of back issues, but we'll then find out that the underlying cause of that is stress or maybe conflicts in a team. So then we come in and we say, it's not just about us giving you the tools to sit properly, but also about getting better at teamwork. And one of the ways that we do that is through a particular type of meditation. So I'll start with the biggie here, reducing stress. So it is obviously no big secret that your workforce can be a massive asset and the biggest liability as well. So one of the statistics I've got here, which I think is really shocking, and yet it's one of the many ones that I could have cited, 84% of UK employees report feeling stressed at least once a month, with almost 40% saying it affects their work performance. And it really does. So you can give people all the best training in the world. If they're still stressed, they're still going to underperform. So that is a really big thing. And the immediate benefits of stress, because obviously there's chronic stress, there is immediate stress. You can have a deadline, and that is maybe even good stress, because as we might all know, stress is fantastic in the first hour, then it turns to all the bad stuff that we do not want. However, if you need to calm down before a big meeting, before a big presentation or something like that, you can get these benefits from going from your sympathetic state, from that stress response, that all the adrenaline and cortisol running through your body, within 2 minutes to your rest and digest response, to that parasympathetic state, by just focusing on long exhalations rather than breathing up here, you're breathing down here. So it doesn't take long. And that is one of the things that I love to teach people as well, because it really gives you the tools to become better. So while I am happy to come into companies, to send my employees there, to do these sessions with the employees, I'd also like them to know what it is that they need to do when they don't have us there. And that's what it's all about. So you can have a lunch and learn with us. 30 minutes, we'll teach you 3 of the essential tools to calm yourself down in any situation. And you can have hours of guidance with us as well if you want that. On the left-hand side, you see how slow breathing affects heart rate variability. And it has so much to do with decision making. I won't speak more about that because one of the things that Julia will talk about is decision making. And then, of course, there is the side of physical stress as well. It's about moving in a way that is good for your body. It's about holding postures, often for longer than you think you should, because we may know that we release muscle tension if we're holding a stretch for about 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes. After that, however, we're going into the connective tissue, fascia, ligaments, tendons, that we should not forget about. And sometimes we're just not holding for long enough. So it's sometimes good for someone to come in. We do this online as well, but someone to tell you, and now it's time to release, rather than you think, I think I'm done now. It's been enough, you know? So what we do here is chair yoga. We combine that with computer ergonomics, and the most important thing is, and I see that a lot with other people that offer these services, is it needs to be inclusive, it needs to be effective. So you can't do too tough a session. You need to make sure that you look at the people who are in front of you, read the room, give them what they actually need. And sometimes that also means not giving them what they want, because they might have certain ideas about what may make them feel better, but they don't know themselves. And so we will probably agree with that. It's the conscious mind versus the subconscious mind. So getting rid of repetitive strain injury, musculoskeletal disorders, working on eye strain as well, having exercise for what does that do to your eyes when you're constantly looking at your computer screen. Getting up is a big one, obviously. And while we're moving like that, we're obviously also working with lowering our stress hormones, getting ourselves to produce feel-good chemicals, that positive neurotransmitter GABA, which stands for gamma-aminobutyric acid, and it essentially slows down the firing of neurons so that you become less anxious and calmer. And I do want to say, and I am part of the problem sometimes as well when I talk about these things that we're alleviating, because there is different cultural concepts of stress, of tension, of pain. So we have concepts that make sure that we understand the world. And we start that from a very early age. If you have a child in front of you, that child throws something out of the pram and the parent says, it's okay, you're angry, that child will have its first concept of anger, which will get refined again and again and again. One of the cultural things which I found quite interesting is there's a doctor who spent a lot of time in the Middle East, and he said, well, here we don't get backaches. No one struggles with that. They get tension headaches. So I thought, okay, that's very interesting. So there is something to be said for the mind and the importance, the power of the mind over what we feel in the body. Now, meditation and yoga, but I'll focus here on breathing and different types of concentration. Meditation is such a massive field that I won't go into the different ones. Some are actually very similar to what Zoe does. So there's certain meditations, Yog Nidra meditation, for example, yogic sleep, which gets you into that hypnosis state in which you're obviously very receptive. But what happens immediately when you meditate, whether it's through breathing or through concentrating on something or just letting the mind wander and introducing a mantra that comes in, and we've spoken about transcendental meditation earlier, it slows your respiration and your heart rate, and it lowers your blood pressure and your blood sugar levels. What does that mean? Obviously, it means that your parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, so you're becoming calm, homeostasis, wonderful. Your brain waves will go from agitated to calm. Your amygdala, which is always called the center for stress and emotions in the brain, but anyone who knows a little bit about neuroscience knows that that is very simplistic, but it is quite active, and we want that activity to change. In some meditations, or most meditations, the amygdala activity dampens, which is great. In some, it is actually heightened because we want empathetic concern. So if it's a compassion meditation, you want higher amygdala activity together with your prefrontal cortex working in connectivity. Your prefrontal cortex is often called the brain CEO, your logical thinking mind. So it is complex, but what we're trying to achieve with different breathing techniques, with different meditations, and also with the way we're holding us, is retraining the brain, rewiring the brain into healthier thought patterns and behaviors. And that is called neuroplasticity, something that we didn't know existed until a few decades ago. And who you become, just to make it more tangible rather than talking about the brain, is you will have improved cognitive skills and executive function. memory, focus, concentration, all of these wonderful things that we want all the time. And sometimes, because memory is a really, really interesting one, it starts with the immediate memory of remembering little things. So that is your working memory. Imagine it's often called a whiteboard, where you're writing and immediately something is erased. And that working memory needs to work, needs to be trained in order for the rest of your memory, your long-term memory, to work as well. It's great for lowering anxiety and depression, I was saying earlier, especially severe depression. There's studies that show that it is as effective, sometimes more effective than medication is, but obviously without the side effects. And in terms of stress and burnout, you will go from that to being more resilient and more productive. Resilience being one of those things that I wouldn't say is numbing things and pushing them down into your subconscious, but actually knowing what is going on, being so in tune with what's going on in your body, noticing the signs that our body is sending us, our interoception, that we will not get into a position where we'll make choices that are bad for us. So that's what it's about. Then that leads to informed decision-making, negotiation skills. So I was mentioning a compassion meditation, which is fantastic for teaching teams better negotiation skills and just being better team players because of it. It might mean that you're sitting in a team with people you really don't like. However, you will get to that place where you're able to put yourself into their shoes. And that is exactly what you need in order to be a good negotiator, and convince them as well, because you need to know how they think rather than push onto them what your opinion is, right? And yes, longevity I've mentioned at the beginning. And that goes hand in hand and is exactly what Costa said. It's not just one thing. It's not just how are you breathing. It's not just which meditation you do. It's how aware are you of everything you're doing. What do you eat? And we touch on these things as in our programs as well. So it is a holistic look at what is healthy for you. And that is, as Costa said, not a one-size-fits-all approach. But we can really, through these initiatives that we have, lower sickness and absence rates. One of the things we did, so that is a recent client that we had, they came in and they said, yeah, there's a lot of back pain. There's also a lot of cognitive errors that our team is making. And we came in and we really talked to everyone, just listened and read between the lines. And we then came up with a program that combined body scans or mindfulness-based meditations with compassion meditations, as well as computer ergonomics, adjusting the workstation, and different chair yoga exercises in order to get them to a 32% reduction in absenteeism and 13% revenue increase. So obviously a big one. So these things really, really matter. And what's always most important for me is not, yes, it's great if we're delivering, of course, but the most important thing is the health of the company and ultimately the health of the whole country. And that is it from me. So I've also got a little, yeah, I know, I'm amazing. We're all really good at this. No pressure, Julia. You'll be amazing. On the left-hand side, that's a QR code that will take you to my LinkedIn. You can also book a free discovery call through my Calendly link. And you can get in touch with me on any platform that you could possibly think of. Not X, I'm not on that. And and I've also got a little goodie. If you get in touch and you send me an email or you get in touch via LinkedIn, I will be sending you a free body scan meditation. So thank you very much.
Amazing.